Morning everybody. You saw the bit of the intro at the beginning. I am painting the garage floor in my studio makeover, my YouTube studio makeover, and you've seen the thumbnail. We are using the Bradite and it's the Floor It. Now I'm going to be totally honest, Bradite have sent me this paint to try out, and it's really off the back of me seeing them at the painting and decorating show back in 2024, where I was talking to the guys and girls there, and they said, do you get any call for doing garage floor painting and painting floors like this situation here? And I said no, and they did say to me, if anything comes up that I would like to try as a sample, a tin of paint of Floor It, give them a shout. Now, what a better opportunity than what I've got now that I'm doing my YouTube studio up and I need to paint this garage stroke workshop floor. So I contacted Rachel at Bradite, which is also the company of Little Green, and I said to them, I've got a garage floor, is there any chance I can have that sample tin of paint? And they have willingly obliged. Now, let's tell you about this floor paint. It's a water-based product. It's used interior, exterior. You can use it on concrete, wood, tarmac, asphalt, steel, all common flooring paints and chlorinated rubber. So with me having this floor that has previously been painted in an oil-based floor paint, I can go over this previously painted surface with this paint, which is great. There's a lot of paints that you can't go over certain paints with, but thankfully this we can do. What else does it say? It says ideal for garages, workshops, which this will be, kitchens, bathrooms, staircases, light industrial traffic. Right, I'm going to say now, if you have a garage floor that is high traffic area, cars going on and off it, a 2-pack product for floor paint is probably more ideal, because there's something in the tyre compound of rubber that seems to eat into traditional, I'll say traditional oil-based floor paints, and you can get a bit of a chemical reaction, and that's where you get tyres that are standing in one spot on a garage floor. It lifts. But I've not got this situation. It's not really a garage floor. This is going to be my studio workshop, and I will be walking on it. So it's got light foot traffic, which this product will be ideal for. It says easy to apply. It's self-priming on most surfaces. Petrol stain resistant. So if you are in a garage where you are getting stuff that is being spilt, this will resist those sorts of things. Minimal disruption, floors ready for light traffic, for light use in 16 hours. And it says all substrates should be suitably prepared before application. Now, what I've done, I've made sure this floor is clean and tidy. I have scraped anything that's loose. I have gone around with a sweeping brush, gone around with the edges with a duster brush, and I've also gone over it with a vacuum cleaner. So really, I can't do any more to improve this floor. I can't wash it because it is a floor that, I don't know whether you can see, if I get down, will it track me? It is a floor that has got some aggregate in it, and it's not actually a flat surface. Right, let's talk about this paint again. It says on the tin, high performance floor coating. Now, the reason I wanted to try this and go for it, the recoat time is an hour. Now, because I've got a lot of stuff that I'm still moving around that will go on racking in this area, I wanted to get something on the floor that is actually quick drying, because it's a water-based product. It will be recoatable in an hour. It's virtually touch dry in 30 minutes. I've got heaters, so I can actually get a circulation of warmth and air in here to help that drying process. Now, the idea is that I will get half of this room done in this section, get it all completed with 2 coats. Then once it's properly dried, I can move some of these boxes. I've got spray equipment, I've got storage boxes and the like. They can all come into this section, and then I can do over there. So that's why I wanted to use this for its quick drying properties. Just on the front of the tin it says low odour, so there's no smell. It's marked stain and petrol resistant, and it's non-yellowing. Now you can get this in, where does it say? I've lost it. I can look on the phone for this. It's available in all the RAL colours, the NCS and British standards, plus it's available in light and dark grey. Now the colour I've gone for to go roughly really with these wall colours, I have gone for the RAL 7015, which is slightly down from the traditional anthracite colour of the 7016. So I am going for a grey on the floor, and hopefully it'll just complement the walls nicely. So I'm going to say to you now, always read the back of the can, give it a good stir up. Don't go too fast if you've got a mechanical whisk, because you don't want to be putting loads of air bubbles in it and disrupting the paint like that and breaking it down. It's actually quite good if you use a traditional proper mixing stick, which is more like a flat, can we call it a flat paddle? This will actually agitate and move the paint around the tin quite well, and you can also get it taking paint off the side. Don't use something like a cane or a tube or a pipe, because with them being aerodynamic, you can't actually mix paint properly. You really need something like that, a proper mixing. These are what you call a mixing stick. So I'm going to get this wound up now, give it a mix. I'm going to tip it out. I've got, I'll show you down here. I've just got a paint bucket to put the paint in. I've got a roller scuttle, a traditional metal one. I've got a longish power roller sleeve, just an old one's quite handy to have for floor painting. And I'm using a Kana Aqua, can you see that? It's a 2.5 inch slash cut, just for cutting in around the edges. So that's what I've got. I've got a roller bucket, scuttle, I've got a paint bucket, and I've got an old roller sleeve on a roller pole. So let's get cracking and let's see how we go cutting this in. Right, what I've done, I've mixed it up, not mixed it up too vigorously, because you don't want to get loads of air bubbles in it or anything like that. Just using the mixing stick. I've tipped some out into the paint bucket with the brush just on top, and I've bedded in the roller sleeve. Now, just anybody asking, this is a single pack product. It's obviously, I've told you, it's got a recoatable time in an hour, and it's formulated for light to medium traffic situations. It's ideal for factory walkways and general shop floor usage, where speed of completion is a major consideration. And high performance ambient cross-linking water-based acrylic paint has no odour and is suitable for use internally and externally on appropriate prepared concrete, wood, metal and asphalt surfaces. It can also be used on polyurethane, epoxy and chlorinated rubber coated floors. Now, as I said just a few minutes ago, this isn't any of that. It's just an ordinary oil-based floor paint that I'd used previously. I'm just going to say the finish that you get is a semi-gloss finish. It's extremely durable with excellent adhesion, applied by either spray, brush or roller. It has a coverage, depending on the porosity of the substrate, of up to 12 square meters per litre. So it's got a good coverage power. And we've also said it's mark, stain and petrol resistant, non-yellowing, quick drying for easy to apply, and minimal disruption. Floors ready to use in 16 hours. So that's what I'm going to be doing in here, getting it done, and then I can get everything back in place and some racking. So let's see what this is like for actually cutting in. Right, I'll see if I can do this one-handed, just show you a little bit of cutting in. Now, the paint consistency does feel quite thick, and I'm going to start in this corner. Hopefully there's nothing too flaky around me because I have gone round and dusted off and brushed the best I can and used the vacuum cleaner. Now this cutting in brush is quite nice because it is angled. A little bit of muck there. Let's try and get it into that corner. There you go. Cutting round nicely. You will find the second coat will go on a lot easier because you've got the same paint underneath you. I have to say, I'm just butting in straight away, the colour is very nice. Let's just push it into the wall area there. You can always neaten it up slightly when you come to your second coat, so do what you can on your first. You see I'm cutting, it's not easy when you've got an uneven surface. But you get the idea. Coming all the way along, look. No need for tape when you're using this sort of thing on garage floors. Just cutting with a nice brush, and this Kana Aqua is very nice. You can see I'm just neatening it up slightly. I will do that a bit better when I come for that second coat. Right, once you've got a bit on, flood it around the edges. It does feel a really nice product to apply. If you're so inclined and you've got the time, you could actually paint the whole lot with a brush, depending on your size of your floors that you're doing. Right, so you've seen what I'm doing. I'm flooding into any little holes that are on the floor as well. Scrubbing it across so I've got something to work to when I go with the roller. Right, you get the idea. I'm going to go all the way round now. And once I've done that, I'll come back and just show you rolling it and you'll get the idea. Right, I've been about 10 minutes just cutting in around the edge. You can see I've gone all the way round. I have to say it feels a little bit thick to apply, but you know what, once you get into it and you've bedded your brush in and you get on a nice flatter surface, i.e. not all textured like I'm going over, it actually goes on quite nicely. I'm loving the colour. I'm loving this darker grey, this RAL 7015. I think it's going to go really well with the room. If we stand back, have a pan round. If you can hear the noise, I've just got a blower heater now coming across the floor just to get the room temperature back up again. And I'm going to say I'm sorry about the echoing. We are in an empty room. Aren't the lights better? Yeah, you've seen that on another video, hopefully. Right, I'm going to start rolling. I'll see if I can just do it one-handed to give you the idea. Load your roller up and work from your furthest part towards the door, which my door is over there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to carry on rolling this floor and I'll show you what it looks like when I've got it all completed. So catch you in about 5-10 minutes. Okie dokie, I've managed to coat that up, and as I said, about 10-15 minutes. I've moved a few bits and pieces so I could just bring that wall area around a little bit more. But you know what? I'm quite impressed how that went on. I was expecting it to be quite thin, and it wasn't. It had got quite a good consistency to the paint. You actually felt like you were putting a solid product on, and that's probably because it's one of those single pack products that's got a bit of a mix to it, hasn't it? It's not just a watery product. It's got something that hardens to make it a decent floor surface. I'm just sniffing. There is a little bit of a smell to it. I won't say pungent, but I do notice it. It's not overly smelly. I would say if you have got a bit of airflow, that will benefit from helping the drying as well as getting rid of the bit of a smell that is in the air. But I wouldn't say it's particularly obnoxious or anything like that, if that's the word I want to be using, or intrusive. It's not too bad at all. It is what we call can you smell paint, and you know, there's that fresh smell about the air. Now I've got a couple of blower heaters on there just blowing across the floor to help it dry. I'm going to come back in just over an hour, see what it's like. If it's ready to give a second coat, I will do. If not, I'll just leave it a little bit longer. But so far so good. I'm liking it. I'm liking the colour. I'm liking the contrast between the paler bluey grey and the darker more blacker grey on the floor. And what I will say to you is I will see you a little bit later on, and then we'll have a little bit of a conflab on how the second coat's gone on. But so far so good. I'm liking it. We're about, I'd say 40 minutes in, and it is drying off quite nicely. Because I've got a textured surface, I hope you can see this. You've got your craters, crevices, which are just holding a bit of paint still wet. Now, I've got the heaters on blowing, and I think to be on the safe side, I'm going to have some dinner. I've got some paperwork to do, and I will come back a little bit later on and get a second coat on that. And then I will obviously discuss what it's gone on like for a second coat. But do you know what? I think the opacity of that covering over that green, dark green that I've had before is pretty good. Let's just say if you did want to get away with one coat, I think you could do. But because this is going to be my YouTube studio and I don't think I'll be doing it anytime soon again, I think two coats is going to be very beneficial. Plus it will give you a decent surface, hard wearing surface, giving it that two coats. You've not skimped just trying to get it bumped for one. But I'll just reiterate to anybody that's skipping through and fast forwarding, this is a product that's roughly about touch dry, 30 minutes to an hour, and that hour you could possibly be recoating depending on conditions. Now, conditions in here aren't really ideal for being a bit cold. I've got to get the heaters on, so yeah, you could in some normal circumstances get a second coat on in an hour. And don't forget that actual walk-on usable traffic over this, i.e. when it's starting to cure better, is 16 hours for your foot traffic. So what I'm going to be doing is go get other little bits and pieces done, and I will come back a bit later on and get that second coat on. Catch you in a bit. Right, that is the second coat just gone on, so it's still wet. Now I've come back to second coat this after, I'd say, probably 3 hours from when I first initially coated up and spoke to you originally. Now, it was almost dry. There was just a couple of little areas over in the corner, a bit around the edges, which are the exposed outside brickwork that was still a little bit wet, and some of the heavy craters in the texture of the floor was still a little bit sticky, but the rest of it had dried off nicely, and that's, do we call it a semi-gloss finish when it's actually dried? I will show you tomorrow that, but the finish and the colour I am actually really liking, and I think what I'm going to do is leave the light on. my lights that I've got, which are natural daylight, bright white, whatever colour they class it as, at 6000 Ks lumens. And I'm going to leave these two heaters on, just circulating the air. Now I do have an air brick in both corners of the room, so there is natural wind blowing through the room, as well as the blowing from the blower heaters, putting a bit of heat in here. So it says an hour for drying under an hour for drying in the right circumstance, in the right environment. Clearly I've got a cold floor and it takes a little bit longer, but I will give it till tomorrow, so that'll be well over 16 hours, and we will have a look at this floor, and well, fingers crossed it will probably be dry. Then I can move all my rammel of all the other spray equipment and everything else I've got in here as storage, move it to this side, and then I will start the other. But let's do a conclusion tomorrow. But do you know what? I'm liking this. I am liking this. Welcome back. It's now the next day. The last section you just saw, if you're on the timestamp, was just discussing that second coat that went on once the first coat had dried enough to get that second coat on. Now I've left heaters on overnight and I've come back this morning. It was almost dry. Some of the corners, and I'll show you in a moment, were just still hanging a little bit wet, which I would expect in this sort of environment of, well, let's call it a back studio garage, where we've not got insulated walls. They're a single breeze block, and we've got a concrete solid floor. So it is still a little bit cold, and coldness impairs the drying times of paints, which we know. Hence why I've actually left one of the heaters on a timer. It went off 11 o'clock last night and came back on at about 5:30 this morning. So I eventually came in here about 8 o'clock and started assembling, if I spin round, my racking, because the floor was actually dry enough to work over and work on. And do you know what? I'm really impressed with it. I'm going to swivel the camera around and we're just going to have a look. But yes, I am walking on it. It is dry. There is just a few little corners that are just nearly, I'll say nearly dry. That's all I can say. Right, so here we are. You can see I've just got the heater on there. I've turned it off so we're not distracted by the noise. But do you know what? I really like this finish. It's like a semi-gloss finish. You can tell it's been done. You can see that it's got a nice sheen to it. It's a nice sheen level. And let's just do a bit of a close-up on the tin. I have to say, really impressed. I really like it. It went on nicely. The second coat went on even better than the first, because you were going over yourself. It's always nice to give a second coat of a product. It does make it a lot easier for application. Now, the brush that I use, the Kana Aqua, didn't do bad at all cutting in. We're not a brilliant edge, but with that 2.5 inch slash cut, it did follow the line as best I possibly could. Now, you can apply this with brush and roller like I did. You can also apply it by, if you can get in here, conventional spray and airless spray. It does give some thinning down ratios. If using airless spray, I don't know whether you can see this, it says thin with water 0 to 10%, tip size 18 thou, which is 0.46 of a millimetre approximately. So you're looking at using something like a 0.18. Pressure, it says 2,100 psi approximately, but you always have a little bit of a try before you actually go bullet a gate at it, and just make sure you're happy with it. You can also use conventional spray as well as the airless. Again, it does say conventional airless spraying, thin with 5 to 10% water as required, and your tip size is a 2.0 mil. Now your pressure is around about 60 psi. So you can use it through a conventional, i.e. like what we'd say an HVLP sort of setup. And you can always use it off a compressor, because that's what a conventional spray is as well. But do you know what? I'm really chuffed with that. Over the moon with how the finish is. The colour I really like. Don't forget, you can get this in all the colours, so just check on the Bradite website. And I'm going to say once again, thank you very much to Bradite for supplying this sample tin of paint for me to try. I will now get this side of the room all sorted and stuff in place as much as I can, because do you know what? I've got the other half of the room to do now. So I will now crack on getting everything moved about, and I will get on with that other half of the room. Now you will see this room all completed in the final section of the studio makeover. Now, if you've got a project coming up that you think this product is actually suitable for you, I'm going to say to you, always read the can, always read the instructions. Do you know what? I'm impressed with it. It's done what it needs to do in here. It's quick drying. There's no smell, albeit you can smell that you've put paint on, but it's nothing too pungent. Give it a try. It is water-based, and your brushes and roller will wash out with water. So I'll see you on the next one. Please watch the videos at the end. And the next time you'll see me in this room is this room will be completed, and you will see it in its all entirety. Thank you very much.
Now is my time to shine. Let's go. When your time comes, don't postpone it. When others doubt and out, you don't condone it. Truth be told, yourself is your toughest opponent. When your moment comes, grab hold and own it. Never let go, stand tall and hold tight. Overcoming obstacles is the objective in life. Doubters all the night, and onto them you shine bright. Cause inside your head, on goes the light.